Olof is a passionate video engineer and that has spent the last 3 years of his career in SVT. He's a specialist in video transcoding and video compression. Olof, he was actually supposed to be presenting this at our previous show just before Christmas, but he then became a father for the first time, actually on the day, I think, of the event. So we're super excited and happy that he decided to join us this time, and he is here today. And I will now hand over to him and hear what he has to tell us about their transcoding platform.
Thanks so much for that introduction, Espen. I'm very, very excited to be here as well, especially considering, that I couldn't be here last time around for good reasons, obviously, but I'm very happy that I am able to be here today. All right, let's see. Okay, so I am, as I said, I'm very excited to be here today to talk about Encore, which is our in-house home-brew transcoder that we've been building for roughly 2.5 years. And I'm going to tell you how it's helping us to improve the visual quality of our VOD service, one transcode at a time. Now, today's presentation is divided into 3 steps, or 3 parts. I'm going to start with a bit of a background to just tell you where we came from and why this has been such an interesting journey for us. I'm going to talk a bit about the challenges we face and how we navigate the OTT landscape. And then finally, I'm going to describe Encore on a conceptual level and describe why, how we use it in our pipeline. Now, this is a pretty long slide, long presentation with lots of slides, and I'm going to go through them quite quickly. So we'll buckle up and enjoy the ride. So we started in 2013 when SVT acquired an on-prem proprietary transcoding solution from a commercial vendor. That was 10 servers that were GPU based. They were very fast and the quality was quite good. We transcoded all of our VOD content using this service. However, 5 years later in 2018, this product had reached end of life and the quality had become lackluster because everything was transcoded using the same profile. All of our content was suffering from that defect. And since it was a black box, a proprietary solution, there was no active development either. And this meant that we were at an impasse where we had a limited input space. We had an almost impossible situation when it came to customization, and we had a limited output space. So we were left with lackluster quality transcodes at low resolution with a high bitrate.
Excuse me, Olof, your slide does not seem to change.
Oh, I'm so sorry. There we go. Okay, so right. Okay, so basically we had an old solution. It didn't work well. So in 2018, we decided to go about and create our own solution. So during one of the biannual tech sprints that we have, we banded together a group of developers and tried to see if we could build something using FFmpeg, and that worked flawlessly. Even though it was a proof of concept, it proved that we could blow that old proprietary solution out of the water completely. But before I describe how it works today and what we've developed since then, let me just set the table with the challenges. So as anyone working with transcoding for OTT will tell you, there are 3 desired properties that you want to achieve when transcoding. It's to retain visual quality, to have a better viewing experience, to achieve high compression, to save on distribution costs, and then to have low complexity to make the transcode quick and ease on the decode. At SVT, we've chosen to have high quality and high compression because you can only ever have 2 of these. To be fair, however, there is one 4th dimension, which is compatibility. Most commercial services, they can choose if a certain family of devices is very hard to transcode for, or it's hard to make them work, you can actually skip them if they're not economically feasible. But a public service broadcaster has to try to be available on as many platforms as we can, which is something we've been quite successful with, thanks to Encore. Now, there is one more part that I like to call the public service dilemma, which we also have to contend with. And that is the fact that as the amount of viewers increase, so does our distribution costs. And as our viewers become more accustomed to better visual quality, we have to keep up to stay relevant. Now, we have a fixed budget every year, which means that in order to improve, we have to accomplish more each year with the same amount of funds. So just to summarize what sort of goal we're trying to reach here, we want to deliver high quality video without using too much bandwidth and data, where too much depends on the context, and the device compatibility is paramount. So how do we achieve this? Well, using Encore, of course. So what is Encore? Well, at a glance, Encore is really a mixture of in-house software that we build ourselves and open source libraries that you would know. I've already sort of mentioned that Encore is based off FFmpeg, but we also use other open source libraries that you would know, such as X264 and X265 for encoding, and a plethora of other things to handle scaling, concurrency, and so on. If we take an overview of the workflow for a transcoding job, it is impossible to go through everything in detail, but you can conceptually divide this into 5 phases or 5 steps. And it all starts with a job. An Encore job is an aggregate of information that concludes with a media file, a priority so that the job can be prioritized towards other jobs, a transcoding profile, and a special instruction, which might be optional. Once the job is created, it's moved over to the queue phase, or the queue step, where scaling, concurrency, and priority is handled. And once the job is ready to be transcoded, once it's reached the top of the queue, it's moved over to the analysis and command step, where the file is analyzed, where we pass the instructions, and where we create the FFmpeg command. That command is then sent to an Encore instance where one of the thread pools starts transcoding. We receive progress, we can pull it from some information, and once it's done, we get a callback. Now that callback and the output files sends us over to step 5, where we can deliver the files to a predefined location. This is completely file-based, and it works with one input, and you can have several outputs. Now, I would like to just step into 2 of the parts here that sort of sets Encore apart. The first is step 2, which is our queue handling. So this is, to me, this is ingenious. Whenever you configure Encore, you configure a set of queues. These queues can have priorities among each other and within each other. And for each queue that you configure, you get a thread pool within your instance. And these thread pools do the transcoding. So what you have here is a reverse priority block, which means that the first thread slot for any instance will always try to pick things in the first queue and only from the first queue. Whereas the second slot will pick from things from the first queue if there's anything there, and jobs from the second queue once it's empty. Then the third slot will only pick from the first queue if there's anything there, and then look in the second queue. If there's nothing there either, then it will move to the third slot. We achieve 3 things with this system. First and foremost, we can assure that all jobs, the jobs that are being made or picked up are always the highest priority ones. Secondly, we can saturate our hardware and see to it that we always use the resources that we have. And this means that we can assure that we publish things in time and that we can refine things using as much quality as possible. Now, the second part in this overview that I would like to focus on is the job processing that is done in the analysis and commands step. And this is really another part that to me is amazing, and that's the command builder. Because when we create our FFmpeg commands, we do that as a combination, an aggregate combination of our encoding profile that contains bit rates and codecs, the special instructions that we add, say for burn-in subtitles, captions, or aspect ratio control. But we also have a tool that analyzes our input file, creates metrics, and helps alter the command depending on the input file. So for instance, if it has to be de-interlaced. Now, this is amazing because if you have an archive of video footage that stretches almost a century back, there are bound to be edge cases that you would normally have to handle manually. But since the command builder is so flexible and adaptable, we solve most of these cases automatically. Another application that is not really part of Encore, but what you can use Encore for and what we use in our pipeline, something we call procedural transcoding. And that means that we can set up queues so that we encode everything that has to be published first. And once we have some time left or some resources left, we can go back and do some extra steps. We can add extra audio, repackage and republish. We can add refined encoding, repackage and republish, which has increased our quality while not sacrificing any of our stability. At SVT Play, we don't use any per title encoding, nor per shutter encoding. We just do genre-based encoding, which works on predefined profiles that we have. But the quality has increased immensely over the years. And it's hard to showcase that in a webinar like this, but suffice to say, we are very happy with the results. However, the biggest news of the day is the fact that Encore is going open source. So as of today, we are open sourcing this solution. We hope it will increase collaboration. We hope it will increase transparency and spur innovation. We're very excited and very happy to be able to share this, and hopefully it will be useful to others. So in conclusion, Encore gave us control and flexibility. Encore improved our quality immensely. Encore allowed for innovation and further development, and Encore is free. Well, apart from the fact that we have to develop it in-house. That was all for me. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Olof. Yeah, I guess you can stop your presentation mode. So we have a question. Well, we got a question here in any chance of open sourcing this, but you already answered that. So
yeah.
So it's already up there. Is it on GitHub or?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I didn't provide a link now, but yes, it's up on GitHub as of today, or okay. Actually, I think as of yesterday.
Okay, that's very good news. And are you already working together with some of the other public broadcasters or anyone else on this, or is it solely SVT as of now?
As of now, we have mentioned it to other public broadcasters earlier, but as of right now, we are the only one working on it. I'm hoping that will change, though.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I'm sure it. I'm sure it will. Okay, we have a couple of other questions. Can you share us with the GitHub link? I think we can arrange that. Perhaps you can do that in the Q&A.
Yep.
Are you using servers with GPU or just CPU for the encoding?
Great question. We only use CPU as of today. The encoders that we use are CPU based, and that will change the day we feel that the quality at bitrate that we can create with another solution is better. If someone come up with a GPU encoder that is better, we will change in a heartbeat.
Okay, and then here is a question. I'm not sure if you are able to answer it, but it's regarding the cost and the evaluation of different solutions. So did you cost analyze in relation to transcoding costs with Encore solution compared to other providers like commercial providers? Yeah. And did you figure out like the cost per minute is cheaper or more expensive?
Yeah, so just to start off, I am the wrong person to answer this question, but I will do it anyway. We did do a proper business case for Encore prior, but that was a guesstimate. I mean, we were guessing that we were able to provide this. Nowadays, we know that the solution has saved us a lot of money at an increase of quality, but you know, it was a guess at the time, an educated guess.
Okay, and then one question from me here. So, I mean, we know that measuring quality in encoding is somewhat of a subjective matter, but there are some tools and standards like VMAP or of MOS. And is this something that you're using a part of your platform, or how do you go about measuring the quality part of the video?
Yeah, so yeah, that is truly a great question. We don't have anything as part of Encore right now that measures quality in any way. We use both objective and subjective metrics to see how our quality improves. However, whenever they differ, we focus on the subjective ones. So we use VMAF, PSNR, and SSIM to get us broad trends, but not as part of automation. No, it's all manually done right now.
Okay, good. One more here. Does Encore fix DVB subs pass through DVB clients from SRT source? Wow, it's quite detailed.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question, actually. So if I understand it correctly, then the answer is no. No, not right now. It's not that it is possible, but it's a use case that I don't think we've come across. But I will make a more detailed answer once I've read it myself in the Q&A.
Okay, good. And yeah, I think you mentioned it already, but that you're doing like the per genre encoding now. And I think we've seen these solutions on per title and even per scene. Is that something that you consider as part of your roadmap, or are you happy with the per genre encoding schema that you have today?
So we are definitely interested in per title encoding for many of the reasons that are usually stated. However, as of yet, depending on the source files that we get, we haven't come up with a situation where the complexity, that the increase in complexity gives us enough quality improvements to warrant it. So we will stick with genre for now, but that doesn't mean that we won't go to per title or per shot in the future.
Okay. Thank you, Olof. I think that was all we had time for. There's still a couple of questions there, so perhaps if you can jump into the Q&A and answer these.
Will do. And thanks a lot for the opportunity to talk, and thanks for reminding me that my presentation slides weren't moving.
No worries. Okay, so that was the end of the show today.